welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 136, otherwise known as Season 7, Episode 17. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davison. How you doing, Jacob?
Not amazing.
Nah,
Been a rough week.
I don't think any of us are doing amazing. It's rough, but we don't want to go into that because, we're just the liberal left grifters. Also with us, as always, is your other host, John Correia. How you doing, Correia? As if I need to ask.
I was about to say we don't get those comments anymore of I thought this was a horror podcast because I think we drove them all away, but it's fine. We also
They
don't
know
want
what we're
us.
about.
Well, we also may have toned down the liberal
Rhetoric.
left grifting.
Listen, and my politics are the same as divine. My politics are filth, kill everyone now. No, not really. Yeah, doing great. I know our topic today is Halloween hangover, but I'm genuinely feeling hungover from Halloween, even though I don't drink anymore. So that's fun.
Hey, you don't drink anymore? I didn't know that you
Just
hopped on the wagon.
I mean, like it's gone past. It's just kind of like let it go. I used to binge drink in my 20s and teens and all that stuff, and then was like, I don't want to binge drink anymore. And then like it's less and less, so it's like once every few months maybe, but like for the most part, not really.
Well, good on you. I'm at almost 12 and a half years.
It's definitely not a quit situation. It's just I'm all set. I don't know, but congrats on the 12 years, bud. That's fucking
Oh,
awesome.
it was, that was back in August. But so not quite 12 and a half years, but a long time. Yeah.
Okay, bud.
Anyway, what you guys been doing?
Well, I celebrated Halloween in a pretty fun way. I went to the Vista Theater Video Archive, kind of the little side theater outside of or inside of the Vista, and they did a Halloween triple mystery feature where they played like 3 movies on VHS that we didn't know what we were going to get, and it was Haunted Ween, Jacko, and Hack-O-Lantern all on VHS.
Wait, what's the first one? Haunted Ween?
Haunted Ween. It was a regional regional Halloween horror movie from Kentucky.
I've seen Jacko and Hack-O-Lantern, but I don't know that I've ever heard of Hauntoween. Is that
Haunted
what it is?
Ween.
Haunted
Like
Ween.
Haunted Ween.
What is that? Tell me. I'm interested in that. I've seen the other two, but
Yeah, it's about this old it's about this fraternity that's running low on money, so they decide to renovate this old mansion on the outskirts of town into a Halloween haunt fundraiser, and it's the same place where like this guy killed somebody during the last time somebody did a haunt there, and of course the guy comes back to start killing people in the haunt. It was a lot of fun though. I'm a big fan of regional horror movies with a lot of heart, and it's a fun setup, and it even has its own rock and roll theme song.
what year is it from?
I think 1992.
Okay, so from early 90s. Okay, cool.
1991.
So about the same time as the other two then.
Yeah, like late
Yeah.
80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
And yeah, Jacko is such a bizarre movie, basically being kind of like a pumpkinhead slasher thing. And I love Hack-O-Lantern, especially because it's got Gregory Scott Cummins, aka Mac's dad from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and High Pike as the satanic grandpa who's always hamming it up and saying stuff like, the power is in the blood.
Jeez, I have never seen any of these movies, but that sounds amazing. Just young Mac's dad as a Satanist.
Yeah.
When I used to do my Cinema Verite column for Film Factor, every Halloween I used to try to find a Halloween horror movie to do, and after you do it for long enough, you start scraping the Hack-O-Lanterns. Jacko has Linnea Quigley in it. We need to mention
that's
that.
true. Also, John Carradine in stock footage.
Stock footage. Starring John Carradine's stock footage.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think he was dead when they made it, right? Yeah, so they had
They used like some footage that I guess they shot of him several years ago from another movie and just kind of stuck it in.
Ugh.
Didn't work together as well as Mute Witness when they used because they shot the footage with, I think it was
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness. Yeah, they shot that years prior.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I went into the special features on the Arrow disc, and I was like, wait, that was from years prior? Hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was at a screening of Mute Witness a couple weeks ago, and the director mentioned that in his introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is always funny when they do stuff like that, or like famously Ed Wood putting the footage of Bela Lugosi in Plan 9 from Outer Space after he died, and then having his chiropractor just stand around with a cape.
So good.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a much better job in Mute Witness with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's pretty seamless. But yeah, in Jacko, not so much because there's shots where John Carradine is like sitting somewhere and he's like in a robe as a wizard, and then like I think they just have a John Carradine impersonator in some shots.
Amazing.
But this is from the late 80s, so it's not like Tarkin in Rogue One. It's
Oh yeah, no, it's not CGI. It's just some guy in a robe.
Oh man,
awesome.
Speaking of CGI, this isn't horror at all, but it's horrible because it's probably the worst movie of the year. Here, Zemeckis is Here.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so basically the crux of this movie, and I don't want to go into it too much because it's not horror at all, but it's this one piece of land that they build this house on, and it literally goes from the dinosaurs up until current day. But most of it is on this family that Tom Hanks and Robin Wright are in. And whenever they showed the de-aged Tom Hanks, I can't help but think Bosom Buddies.
Bosom Buddies.
Oh yeah, but no, Here is bad. It's really bad. Like I love the concept because basically it's one shot of this one room. And I was joking as we were leaving that, best supporting actor to this bay window that's in the room because you're looking out this. But anyway, something new that I did see that I think it comes out tomorrow, which by the time this post will have been like a few days ago. Heretic, the new A24.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
It's pretty good. It's in a year full of like First Omen and The Exorcism, and Immaculate. This is a refreshing religious horror movie. The crux of it is these two Latter-day Saints missionaries. One of them is Sophie Thatcher, and the other is Chloe East. Yeah, and they knock on the door of this guy who is Hugh Grant. And he invites them in, let's talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And he's like this religious scholar. So he's basically questioning their whole belief system and throwing things back at them. And they're kind of on the defensive, but there's other stuff going on there as well. And it's pretty, I think the scariest part is how he is basically getting them to question their whole belief system. And the girls, the Sophie Thatcher one was converted into Mormonism, but the Chloe East one was born into it. So they have different levels of commitment to the religion. But there is, I mean, it's a real wordy movie. There's a lot of conversation. But there is actual horror movie stuff that does happen later on. But it's and Hugh Grant. Oh my gosh, dude, this is the most villainous since Paddington 2 that we've gotten from him. He's so good in it. All three of them. It's like a 3-person play kind of. Although one of the Mormon elders, and I didn't even recognize him until the credits at the end, is Topher Grace.
That's awesome.
It's a real small part. He basically comes looking for these girls because, they didn't check back in, but yeah, I didn't even recognize him. But yeah, Heretic, it's not what you think it is, but nice. It's really good. So
hell yeah. For new movies, I went out and saw Smile 2, which prompted me to finally watch the first Smile.
You hadn't seen the first one?
No, it never interested me. It was always like, I'm all set.
So when I mentioned the cat scene, you had no idea what you were in for.
No. And I got to say they're not my vibe. I like, cause I don't want to trash movies just cause it's not my vibe. Cause they are well made. The first one definitely had a lot of faults. The cat scene was great. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. The first movie just had that did that thing where there's like one thing that just irks the shit out of you story wise, and then it like you can't stop like looping on it the rest of the movie. And it's early-ish in the movie after the smile curse is put on her and all that. It's like the day after, and she has a hallucination, and she accuses one of the patients of being aggressive, and then the doctor's like, this man has never shown any sign of aggression ever whenever he's been here. Listen, I know you've been pulling 80-hour work weeks for the last few months and witnessed someone slit their own throat in front of you yesterday. But you accusing this man of being aggressive today is a bit too much. Maybe you should take some time off. I was just sitting there going, give that girl a break, man. Give her, like,
yeah, and her fiance is a dick.
Her fiance is no better. Everyone's just like, yeah. Someone slit their throat in front of you. It's fine. Quit being so weird, okay? And it's like, guys, come on. You need to be buying her a vacation, okay?
Yeah. No, it does kind of lean pretty hard into like, even though this person's seen some crazy shit, everybody just blows her off about like all the stuff that's happening to her.
That being said, I like Smile 2 a lot more.
Yeah,
really? That kind of stuff wasn't going on. At the end of the day, both movies are about like women not being listened to and trauma and all that.
Well, Smile 2 had a different reason for that because she was a recovering addict and alcoholic. So people were like, "Oh, did you relapse?" Kind of a thing.
But also, she hid the fact that she witnessed the guy die in front of her. Mm-hmm. No one knew about it, so it's not like everyone was like, "Yeah, we know you saw this terrible thing," and it's like, no, like. There's legit like, why are you acting so like no one knew? So like it made sense, and I like.
Well, she was at a drug dealer's house when it happened, so
exactly.
She had a reason to hide it because she was didn't want people to know that she was buying Ambien. But yeah,
but also that whole opening with Kyle Gallner was just so good.
When I saw him in the credit list for Smile 2, I'm like, okay, he's either going to die in the first scene or he's going to be the guy in the cabin that they go to. How do we break this curse? You've lived through it. And sure enough, there he is dying in the first scene. Spoiler alert, but not really.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Naomi Scott absolutely ate it. I think at the end of it, because I don't know, like at the end I was like, it was a good movie. I just, I wasn't like super I was tired by the end of it. Like I do like if I felt long for me.
It is a long movie. And also when I rewatched Smile before Smile 2, I didn't realize that. I think that one's an hour 50. And to me, Smile feels like a 90-minute movie. Whereas Smile 2, it feels longer than it is, whereas Smile, I think, felt shorter, to me at least.
Yeah, Smile 2 is 127 minutes, so it's a little over 2 hours. I mean, again, they're good movies. I'm gonna say they're not my vibe, but Naomi Scott absolutely ate it, especially when she's like full Sky Riley and is like doing the moves and stuff. She was absolutely serving, and I loved every minute of it.
So, are you team Sky Riley or team Lady Raven?
Listen, I need them to go on tour together. What was it on Letterboxd? Someone said, Lady Raven and Sky Riley Cunty World Tour when?
I know that they're the Taylor Swift Paramore tour.
my main takeaway from it was, oh great, drag queens can finally put away their pearl costumes because now they have a new screaming queen to emulate. Because boy, she must have burst like a throw vessel with the screaming on that one. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I'll watch a Smile 3. But I want to see Parker Finn do a non-Smile movie as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I'm like, I like the Smile movies, but I really do want to see him come up with another idea, or because the dude can make a movie.
Yeah,
I just don't know if the Smile franchise has the kind of legs, to support many more movies after this.
Well, it's like Rob Savage, where it's like, all right, cool. Can you lean away from the found footage stuff?
The host guy?
Yeah, where he did the host and dash cam. It's like, all right, you can do found footage stuff. Can you do non? And then he did Boogeyman, which was great, and it's like awesome. So I'm hoping something similar. He does a third, and it's something
you can work outside of screening horror.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of other new stuff, although I have seen like some pre-screening and independent stuff. Like uh, there was this movie, Watch Them Come Blood, that was made by some coworkers of mine at the Cinematheque, Mike Cuenca and Joaquin Dominguez, and
What is it? Watch Them Come Blood?
yeah, Watch Them Come Blood. It's like a kind of a grindhouse exploitation throwback.
It sounds like a horror porn movie.
Well, it is set at a brothel.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because it's about this group of friends that are going on a road trip and they discover this kind of underground sex club at a brothel and they go there and of course
Nice.
shit goes sideways. I don't want to get too into it because it goes into some pretty crazy places. But yeah, it's just like an independent horror movie made for a pretty minimal budget and yeah, I got to see it at the Los Feliz Theater a couple weeks back, and it's a lot of fun. Like it has kind of a ensemble cast, so like there's a lot of intersecting character plot lines and arcs. Yeah, it does kind of feel like a lost like 70s grimy drive-in movie, and I think it's going to be getting a release sometime next year for Vinegar Syndrome.
Hell yeah. Awesome. It's not particularly horror, but it's genre related. But I saw Sean Baker's Anora this past
Nice.
weekend. Have you guys watched that yet?
No,
But it's gonna be in the running for Best Picture. It's really fucking good. Mickey Madison as the title character Nora is absolutely phenomenal. Sean Baker just continues to tell really great stories about sex workers and shedding light and humanity on them.
Sean Baker, the Florida Project guy, right?
yeah.
Yep, Florida Project,
and Tangerine, yeah.
Red Rocket, yeah.
Oh yeah, he did Red Rocket. Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
This one's very much more in the vibe of Red Rocket, but it's because the whole point is this rich Russian teenager whose parents get money from nefarious dealings goes to this sex club, this stripper club where he meets Annie Anora, and it's one of those like whirlwind wet love affairs where it's like, oh, we're you want to be my exclusive, yeah, it's gonna like almost Pretty Woman, but then like it goes kind of through the ropes, but it doesn't do anything similar. Like it's hard to describe without spoiling a whole lot, but essentially every single person in this movie is charming as fuck to some degree. It's really good, really funny. And I got a shout out respect to Mickey Madison, who I guess they did a screening before it came out for sex workers in New York. And at the end of the movie, they all lifted up their legs and started clapping with their heels. So I highly recommend looking up that footage because it's just a bunch of like really high heels with like neon clear shoes, just like clacking real fucking loud with the legs over the seats. It's so good.
I love these specialized screenings they do because there was a screening, and this wasn't the one that I was at, but of Sing Sing, where they had all of these ex-cons in the audience.
Oh.
And then the bike rider screening that I was at, they invited a real motorcycle club to it.
Yeah.
And that was really funny because they laughed at all the right places and it made it really enjoyable. Like you could like there's a line in the movie where they say something like, so you take these guys who don't follow rules and you give them a bunch of rules. And the MC just all started cracking up and it was really funny. But then there was at my screening of Kneecap, and I didn't know this at the time, but I did hear people speaking Irish all around me. There was some Irish coalition that they invited. So those specialized screenings can be really fun if you are you're immersed in this audience of people who are going to relate to this movie a lot harder than you do,
I wish I was at that Anora screening because that would have been just such immaculate vibes, and just our screening was really great. We saw it at the AMC Prime and City Walk in like midday on a Sunday or something, and no one else was in it. So we had like these tall balcony seats and essentially had the whole theater to ourselves. It was great.
I had a screening of First Reformed to myself once. These were the Movie Pass days, and this screening started it was like the last screening of the day, and I'm sitting in there, and then they start the movie, and it's just me, and I'm like, oh, these theater workers hate me because, I'm the reason they're staying.
Yeah, no, I love when I got an entire theater to myself at like Alamo Drafthouse. Like the last time that happened was I was the only person in the audience for like an early screening of Quiet Place. The new one. What was it called again?
Oh, day one.
Day one. Yeah, the day one. I was the only one there.
So it was real quiet.
The first Quiet Place, I saw it twice, and it was a packed theater both times. And I think you needed a packed theater for that, because a packed theater, just completely dead silent, there's just this energy to it. But day one was a little different. It was not as as dependent. Yeah, it wasn't as dependent on that silence. Like, But speaking of silence, have you guys seen Azrael?
Yes, I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse last month.
Yeah, it's on Shudder now. It kind of has a Quiet Place concept to it, because what do they say at the very beginning? Something like there's like some kind of apocalypse, and they're like, people have
the rapture.
The rapture. There was a rapture, and they're like, people have foregone their, the sin of speech or something like that. They have some dramatic way of putting it. They have, given up talking. And Samara Weaving is the main character. And oh man, it's another movie where she ends up soaked in blood. If you like Samara Weaving drenched in blood, Azrael is your bag.
And
we all do.
Yeah, exactly. She basically there's like some kind of it. The thing is, the lack of dialogue makes it not difficult to follow, but you really have to pay attention, because it's the opposite of, show don't tell. They are definitely showing, not telling, but it's the kind of thing like, oh, okay, wait a minute. And plus there's basically the crux of it is there's this cult that is after her, and it alternates between her running from them and her getting revenge on them, at points. And there's one of the cult members who, especially when she's covered in blood, you're like, okay, wait, from behind, you're like, is that the cult member, or is that Samara Weaving? There's kind of that kind of a deal, but it's pretty good though. I mean, the way it's real, it has that Quiet Place tension, because the most dialogue you have is there's a guy that's speaking some other language without subtitles, so you don't know what he's saying. But then he puts on Sniffing the Tears driver's seat when they're driving, so you're like, oh, all right.
Hell yeah.
In terms of new stuff, I was fortunate enough to see a pre-screening of the new Wallace and Gromit movie, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Fowl, featuring the return of the greatest villain in cinematic history, Feathers McGraw.
Oh, I'm so jealous you got to see that in theaters.
Yeah, no, because the thing is, it's a Netflix movie, so maybe they'll do a limited run, so they can, go for awards.
Yeah.
But I was lucky they were doing a pre-screening over at USC. And it's a lot of fun, because, it's like just taking a lot of those techniques from all the other previous Wallace and Gromit movies, and it just looked so seamless and had like even bigger stunts and misadventures. And it's funny too, because like The Wrong Trousers, the one with Feathers McGraw, was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's wild to see kind of a sequel to that after all this time. But yeah, I love that evil penguin.
It's the Wallace and Gromit movies are just absolute clutch. Greatest.
Yeah.
Curse of the Were-Rabbit was absolutely phenomenal. And all the shorts. You can't beat Wallace and Gromit. That's just fact.
Is that the same guy who did Creature Comforts?
Yes, Aardman.
Yeah,
Aardman, yeah.
It's the same style animation. Yeah, I remember that from the old Sick and Twisted, the Mike and Spike's Sick and Twisted's, the Creature Comforts that would just they would show that. It seemed like every year, and it would always slay.
I love Creature Comforts. That show is so good. It's just them rambling, and then there's all this stuff going on in the background.
But also like the lion's laying on a branch that you could see it's bolted to the wall, and he's like, "Oh, I need the blue skies and the water to swim."
It's funny. I just saw Curse of the Rare Rabbit for the first time at the New Beverly last month too. So I've seen both theatrical Wallace and Gromits, and I do have fond memories of Wallace and Gromit too. Because like when I was a kid, like they toured those shorts, and like I'd see them at I think it was the Boston Children's Museum or Museum of Science where they do stuff about claymation,
Hmm.
and that stuff just blew my mind as a kid.
Oh, as a kid, it was the Wallace and Gromit tapes, and any eyewitness VHS tapes my local library had were constantly on loan for me.
Mm.
Remember Eyewitness? They have all those on YouTube now. But speaking of Aardman also they're having a good year because they had their Chicken Run sequel come out.
Oh yes, yes.
They had this, and they just premiered earlier this month a 2-minute short celebrating the 10th anniversary of Over the Garden Wall as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was really good.
It was phenomenal. I love that Patrick McKell is like, yeah, the original show should have been all stop motion. And it's like, well, yeah, Captain Hindsight 10 years later, but Over the Garden Wall is still a masterpiece. And before Halloween, we got to attend the Blasting Company is the band that did all the music for it. So for the first time ever, they had the entirety of the people who performed on that soundtrack perform it live. And they also had an orchestra, and it was incredible. It was interesting seeing people jam out to that style of like jazz live. So that was interesting. But yeah, special guests through the wazoo, including Elijah Wood came out and read some bad poetry for everybody. Over the Garden Wall, 10 years still strong of being the best cozy fall watch you could possibly do. God, I just want those comics to go back in print. They're so expensive.
Did either of you guys watch Woman of the Hour?
Not
No.
yet, but
on
I've heard good
Netflix?
things.
It is pretty good. It's interesting. It's Anna Kendrick. She stars in it, but she also directed it. And it is, the story. It's the story of Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And Anna Kendrick plays the bachelorette who is on the dating game with him. But it also goes back and it's more about him than her, because it goes back and it shows some of his killings. And I did a little bit of research, and it looks like that part of it seems kind of real. There's one thing in it that seems like it was dramatized, and that's in the audience of the dating game. There is a woman who recognizes him as the guy who she thinks raped and killed her friend. So there's that little subplot, but it's a pretty well made little. I mean, it's a compact little movie. I think it's like an hour 35, so it's not like super short, but it's an easy watch. I mean, anything with Anna Kendrick is an easy watch, really. But the guy who plays Rodney Alcala is pretty creepy. And it goes through a few of his victims, including one who got away from him, and it was like his undoing was this one that runaway that got away from him.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty cool little. I think it's her directorial debut. I don't know. Maybe she's done something in the past, but
I think it's her feature.
Yeah, maybe the feature. Yeah, it's a pretty strong little movie, though. I mean, it's cool. It's on Netflix.
I'm very interested in it because, especially growing up and hearing the stories and then finding the clips of the episode where he's on, it's always creepy to watch because he is very, like, the actual guy on the dating show is pretty charming, but there is this like little like,
yeah,
and
they show that because they go into sections where they're not taping like commercials and stuff, where he's interacting with the other two bachelors.
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, okay, something is totally off about this dude, but his answers to her questions are all the right answers. You can see why he won it. Yeah, he turns it on and off pretty effortlessly. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, there's some Ted Bundy in there where he's just like super charming, and you can see the audience, falling in love with him. Just although and this in real life too, the woman who won it, she didn't go on the date with him because she thought that he was creepy. So it's like, and it shows like them kind of getting a drink after the show, and you could see where she's getting creeped out by him. It kind of goes into that more. It's like, okay, this is why You know, this is why she's not going on the date with him because he's a creeper.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely have to check that one out.
Let's take a trip into Korea's Book Nook.
Corey's Book Nook. Oh man.
Yeah, because with guest star Jay, because I have a couple of a couple things that I read. One of them is the novelization of X. A24 is doing vintage horror novelizations of the X trilogy, and the first one, X, is out. And it has like the vintage, cover and stuff like that. And it's pretty much the story of X, but there's more of Pearl in it. And it makes me wonder because they say that this was novelized from, is that a word, novelized? It was written off of the original script. And it makes me wonder if there was more of Pearl in the original script that they kind of cut because I like the movie the way it is because it leaves Pearl as more mysterious. But this one, the book, it tells more about her and it shows a little more about her obsession with Maxine and some of the killings it does from her point of view instead of just, from the victim's point of view. It's
Awesome.
pretty interesting though. It's a cool little read. And another Book Nook entry, I think I've mentioned in the past, one of my favorite podcasts is the MrBallen podcast. He put out it's called MrBallen Presents Strange, Dark, and Mysterious, the Graphic Stories. And it's like a graphic novel of, 5 or 6 of the stories he's told on the podcast. But then he had an artist, draw it out and it's a graphic novel about him. And that is a lot of fun to see these stories, brought to life. I mean, on the page, not, it's not like a movie, it's, a comic, but that's really fun to see that. And the final Korea's Book Nook from guest star Jay is, I've been reading and I'm only about maybe a third of the way through it. It's called Bad Man. It's by Dathan Auerbach is his name. And you'll know him better as 1000 Vultures, who wrote that Pen Pal creepypasta that then got published as a book. Remember Pen Pal?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Pen Pal I loved. And Bad Man it's basically about this dude whose little brother goes missing and he's looking for his little brother. And, nefarious things happen. And I'm only about a third of the way through. So, I'll keep you posted on how that one goes. But so far, so good. It's shaping up to be a pretty good. There's a cardboard baler that they keep focusing on that I'm positive is going to come back to literally bite someone.
Well, it's the classic, theater line. You introduce a cardboard baler in the first act, it's got to be used in the third, right?
Well, it's also a film school thing. It's like if you show a phone in this scene, it better ring.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, I plan on bringing back Korea's Book Nook more frequently. I have this problem of buying books and then starting to read them. So I'm like a quarter of the way of like 5 or 6 books and my ADHD won't let me finish anything. But Manhunt is getting a television adaptation from Lily Wachowski, which previously recommended Korea's Book Nook entry, Gretchen Felker Martin's Manhunt, the post-apocalyptic trans story. That's amazing. I've been saying since I started reading that, I need a Last of Us level adaptation of this book. I never thought it would happen, so I'm so pumped for it. I'm so excited. The other thing that I'm still excited over is the day before Halloween Eve, because Halloween
Devil's Night.
Yeah, Devil's Night. Went to a 10-year anniversary screening of The Guest.
Nice.
Which is amazing because The Guest never really had a theatrical run. So I'm really glad that it's getting more. I think they said it was 54 screens when it first came out. And
I was at one of them. I was at the Cinefamily premiere.
Oh, that's awesome. But seeing that with like a crowd was so amazing because I've gone through so many different phases with that movie and viewing it as like when I first saw it, I was sitting there like, this is a serious movie. It's Captain America slasher, and I almost got none of the humor of it. And then like subsequent viewings got more and more of the humor, and seeing it with the crowd and everyone laughing at all the ridiculousness was amazing.
Oh yeah, it's funny.
But what made this screening special, it was over at Vidiot's, and their theater was they had two of the producers there who have come to previous screenings, as well as Jay's already smiling. He knows what I'm about to say. My man, Dan Stevens.
Oh yeah, your idol.
Oh, idol. That's putting it lightly. Get out of
There's
here.
an awesome picture out there. You should post it to our socials of Correia in his skeleton sweatsuit with Dan Stevens.
Yeah, wasn't Dan Stevens wearing a hoodie?
No, he was wearing a Roswell t-shirt.
Yeah.
It was really funny because I wear that skeleton. I will take any excuse to dress up as a skeleton. And so Dan loved it, by the way, just in case you thought. But no, immediately I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to say to Dan, but he was wearing a Roswell t-shirt. And I was like, dude, have you ever heard of the Alien Watchtower in Colorado? He's like, well, I'm like, it's on the border of New Mexico and Colorado, and it's this weird spiritual place. He was like, oh shit, I've been there. I was like, me too. So we geeked out over weird alien hot spots for a minute. And yeah, I also, in that photo, you'll notice I have a comically large fanny pack filled with candy. So gave him some candy and left. But yeah, no, it was an amazing screening. And again, going back and revisiting that movie, it's fucking hilarious. Dan Stevens even said, he's like, yeah, no, it's a comedy from the get-go. First of all, casting me as a super soldier is inherently funny and ridiculous. But one thing I never really picked up on, because again, I keep saying every time I watch it, it's something new to watch it as. He brought up that for him, and what him and Adam Wingard talked about, was that it was a queer love story, because Dan Stevens' character, you know, he went to war with their son, with the family's son. And so he was coming back to legitimately take care of them and make sure that they're all right after the death of their son. And it wasn't until his brainwash programming kicked in was he actually, like, you know, a killer. And it just brought a whole new perspective to the story, because there were a few parts like, why did he help the dad if it didn't help the mission? You know what I mean? Things of that nature. So it's such a great movie and so fun to go back to. And God, I hope they do a sequel someday. It would be great.
I was going to say, I actually rewatched the movie too at Alamo because it was the new 4K restoration they were putting out. And yeah, well, I mean, technically there is a sequel because they put out the sequel soundtrack where they made a soundtrack for the hypothetical Guest 2. And there's some kind of hints and pieces for what they would go for. Like, I think it would be like David fighting some kind of fundamentalist religious cult. So, you know, we can imagine.
I know. I have that vinyl, and I sit there and I just imagine what's happening. Mostly it's just imagining a shirtless Dan Stevens, which those scenes killed. Let me tell you, if you're a listener of the podcast, if you think I'm thirsty for Dan Stevens, nah, dude. Half that crowd at the screening were women who were thirsty. Let me tell you, the lady next to me was so funny. She had a bunch of things for Dan to sign, and as soon as he came out of that shirtless scene, was just like, you would have thought the Beatles came out and it was the 60s. And when he was carrying the kegs, everybody fucking lost it. Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that's funny. Speaking of Dan Stevens, I actually caught up with Cuckoo.
His least sexiest role of the year.
You know, it's funny. I even texted you guys, or, you know, when it was happening, I was getting huge Human Centipede vibes from it. And Dan Stevens was the freaking creepy doctor dude. I was like, this is going Human Centipede. Cuckoo was not what I thought it would be. I mean, you guys know me. I don't watch trailers or, you know, look at stuff. So it was not what I thought it would be. It was, I loved Hunter Schafer. She's note perfect in this.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, yeah. I mean, I think that you already talked enough about it. I'm just going to give, you know, my thumbs up to it. I thought Cuckoo was great.
And I'm actually going to another screening of Cuckoo at the New Beverly next week, because they're doing as a double feature with Creepers, aka Phenomena, the Dario Argento movie, also in the Swiss Alps with Jennifer Connelly.
But are they showing the Creepers version, the American version of it?
It's the Creepers version. because I think it's the only 35 millimeter print, and I think the only like English print. Which, yeah, I mean, I prefer the Phenomena cut, but still, I've seen the Creepers cut a couple times, and it's truncated, but still fun.
I was gonna say, as a double feature with that, I'm sure it'll be fun, especially if you already have seen Phenomenon a bunch of times. I just recently watched Phenomenon for the first time, so I can't imagine what the Creepers version is. But as a double feature like that, that sounds like a great time.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very excited for that. It's also my favorite Argento movie, and I loved Cuckoo. And yeah, just Swiss Alps are creepy. What's up with Switzerland?
Let's wrap this one up with this episode up with in case you couldn't tell, this has just been our Halloween hangover episode because we had a guest fall through, so you have to deal with us just talking. And not to tip our hand because we still want to try to get this guest on there, but Jacob and I both saw Street Trash, the remake of Street Trash. So let's end with that. What do you think? The sequel, is it a sequel or I guess it is.
It's a sequel. Yeah.
It's not a very faithful remake if it is. So yeah, let's call it a sequel. What do you think, Jacob?
Oh, I loved it.
It is so
I thought it was so much. Yeah, it was so bizarre and brutal, and is it gooey?
It's totally your thing. I remember as I was watching it, I'm like, oh dude, this is up Jacob's alley. This is like Astron 6, style, squirting
splatter.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I do appreciate them elevating the story because I've seen the original Street Trash, and I mean it's fun. It's not a whole lot of plot except like all these homeless people drinking 10 to 5 Viper and melting down and all this weird stuff in New York. But it's like a social satire because it's set in South Africa when the homeless population has reached an all-time high, and the government basically makes this bioweapon to melt down the homeless for ecological purposes.
They're getting rid of the homeless problem.
Yeah.
By melting them. Yeah.
It's the war on poverty, and they're going to kill the impoverished.
I love what Correia talked about him when he did like the full review on it. Sokol, the little blue guy, he had one of the best lines. And this is actually director Ryan Kruger did the voice. He had one of the best lines. He go, "He's high as a giraffe's pussy." And that's high.
I said in my review, I can't say what he was saying. And here's Jay.
That's one of the cleaner lines of this guy's dialogue. I just love
there's just so much foul language.
That is now in my everyday vernacular. Higher than a giraffe's pussy.
I clipped out my review and sent it to Ryan and Justin, and I got a note back from Justin that just said, "Great review. Thanks for mentioning the penis decapitation."
Oh, yeah. Slammed in a gate door.
That's probably my favorite note I've gotten from someone about a review. But yeah, no, it's definitely a sequel because they take the booze from the first movie, and that's how they make the weapon. They vaporize it so that it could be inhaled. But again, yeah, it's incredible because original Street Trash, yeah, it's fun, it's gooey, but there's a lot to be desired when it comes to like character development and story, and this Ryan Kruger's Street Trash just makes up for that in tenfold. What like the most charming group of hobos you'll ever see.
I know. Mm-hmm. I know. And what is it? What's the girl's name? Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was way too clean to be a real homeless person. I'm like, no. But yeah, that was pretty funny. The little hobo tribe they had.
But did you guys expect to tear up? Because I teared up during the attempt at resuscitation scene.
Yeah, it was funny because you had prepped me for it. He's doing CPR to a headless corpse.
It's so funny, but like also I'm like, this is so sad.
Yeah. Well, I kind of got teary-eyed during the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie when they're trying to save Rocket. I'm like, I did not have getting all emotionally attached to a CG raccoon on my bingo card, but here I am,
And then 2024, it's getting teary-eyed over
a decapitated corpse.
Yep.
Which was not CG, which is beautiful.
Full practical.
Yeah,
shot
everything
on 35.
in that. And oh my gosh, and there is so many. The effects alone are worth it. Just like splattering faces and All right.
That's
Well,
great.
let's call this one an episode mainly
Yep.
because I have a heart out here in a second. So this one's all this short episode is because of me.
It's all good.
But if the Street Trash review, we're still trying to get a guest in that I'm going to blow the whistle on it. We're trying to get Ryan Kruger.
Oh, we're
So
gonna
the
get Ryan.
director.
Ryan's coming
Yeah.
on. It's gonna happen. I don't care when.
There
It's
you go.
happening.
So
Technical
you-
issues
you-
aside,
Yep.
we're getting him.
You have to look forward to sometime in the next few episodes. But for now, this is our Halloween hangover. Hope you guys like hearing us talk because that's what you got.
Yep.
Our theme song is by Restless Spirit, so go check them out. And our artwork is by Chris Fisher, so go check him out. And you can check us out on all the socials under Ion Horror or at iHorror.com, which is the website we all call home. And we'll see you in a couple weeks, possibly with Ryan Kruger or
Maybe. Who knows?
some other fun guest that we have coming up that I also don't want to jinx, but one that I'm really excited about.
It's gonna be fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
we have a
think so,
fun few
too.
episodes coming.
Yeah, we do. We have a few good episodes lined up. But you'll have to wait for that. So we'll see you in a couple weeks. So for me, James J. Edwards,
I'm Jacob Davison.
And I'm Jonathan Correia.
keep your eye on horror.